teach you how to write sentences or to read? Or
Yeah, it's got all that. As a matter of fact, the back of the cover page, this is the key to the book. This one page took 6 years of my life to write, 12,000 hours of study, to go and travel all over the United States. I spent a great deal of time in the fifth basement under the Philadelphia Library. It's a top secret library facility with books that go back 600-700 years. And once I get into the old books, I can syntax 2/3 of all the missing words. What's unique about what I do is you can put anything in front of me and I can tear it apart and tell you what it meant, what the condition of thinking of the individual was, how it cross-referenced with history, and then rewrite it in the correct format, showing you the secrets that were built inside of each word through the parse and the right way that the math shows that the sentence should have been written. Even if a person wrote a sentence incorrect, I've memorized the book on synonyms, the book of parse, the dictionary, Encyclopedia Britannica, World Book, rules of trusts writing, and with that amount of cross-referencing as a historian, also did 12 years on genealogy, knowing where the planet started from and how the different ethnic groups have moved across the planet with 13 tribes and how they've interfaced with each other. So my background is very unique. I sleep 3 hours a day. I didn't sleep for 8 years completely. For those that don't know, I died on December 3rd, 1975. I had my right kidney removed. Both of my adrenal glands were surgically removed by a South Korean doctor in an operation. I had gotten sick. My right kidney was killed I was caught in the 1968 riots in Milwaukee, and they kicked my right kidney like you tee a football off 7 times. I got pinned down by 8 boys. After I got out of work, I had arrested one of them for shoplifting. I worked at Sears and Roebuck. I was 18 years old. So his little gang of guys jumped me when I got out of work at 9 o'clock at night, and they tried to kill me. They killed my right kidney. And it took 7 years before it finally knocked me down. Even though it was dead inside me, my body had created a callus around the kidney. It was about the size of my fist, and it was just black tissue. Because of the poison leaking into my system, it created a super immune system fighting this poison on a full-time basis for 7 years. When they removed that, the doctor, who had never operated on a human being before, cut my right adrenal gland out with it because it's attached to the kidney. Then he thought he was supposed to remove my left kidney, which was healthy. So he cut that in half and took out my left adrenal gland and half my left kidney. Well, it left me, I went into anesthesia shock and I was flatlined. I died on the operating table. They couldn't jumpstart me and I wound up in a morgue, cut in half with my heart hanging out of my chest for 35 minutes without a heartbeat. I mean, it's in plain view, the coroner and the nurses down there. And then as soon as they signed my death certificate, according to the coroner, they had an exact time and location. So whatever the future event took place, they had a recording of an individual in a morgue at an exact point in time with an exact match, and I was jump-started. My heart started beating, and they rushed me back upstairs, and they put me back together. I woke up 2 hours out of surgery and stayed awake for 8 consecutive years, going to school full-time and working 2 full-time jobs. I walked out of the hospital in 72 hours. Recovery time is 2 weeks for the loss of a kidney, and I walked out in 72 hours. So I got on this kick of studying. I was going to save my own life because I only had half one kidney, and he said I'd be dead in 3 years. Well, I'm 63 years old now. I was born on September 17th, 1949, and I haven't aged in 35 years. I stopped aging when my kidney. See, what happens is 2 years ago in London, they discovered the gene that causes aging in the human being. When I died when I was 25, my aging genes and my cells died also, and my DNA, according to what the doctors have been able to surmise. So my aging gene, because it's gone, I stopped aging at the age of 25. I've probably aged 5 years in the last 35, 38 years. So like my cousin who was 114, I probably will live to be still be young like this when I'm 100 years old, which would be cool. But it's with this program being as unique as it is, and so important to the existence of this planet and all species on this planet, it's unique that I was chosen with this as a meek person. Now, what does the word meek mean to you? Some people say it means timid or shy or weak. The word meek means I have absolute power over all things on the planet. And I have discretion. In other words, I'm a teacher. That's what the word meek means, that I have absolute power, but I teach people. I don't hurt people with this technology. Even though I am the judge prosecutor, because the judges are the ones that go out and harvest the people, I sit down with the judges and I say, listen, here's your signed confession. You can choose 30 years in prison, or you're the guy that created, you buried the bodies, now go dig them up. Or retire. That's it. You got 3 choices. Because if you think you're going to continue, ain't going to happen. So, and that's unique. And I have a lot of people all the way across the world at the top of the food chain, ambassadors, presidents. I was elected King of Hawaii in June of 1997. That's not a joke. The 72 Hawaiian families got together and they elected me the King of Hawaii. But I am a king over one thing: parse, syntax, grammar. Now, grammar controls contract. So all contracts, treaties, and trusts with the United States government and the Postal Service are a result of what is written on paper. I don't interfere with any culture on planet Earth. I don't interfere with any political organization, religious beliefs, nothing. My sole purpose is contract. What is a preposition? What is an article? What is a fact? Or I should rephrase it. What is a position? What is a lodial? What is a fact? So when I was elected king, I was a king of contracts. That anybody, any 2 people, any 2 tribes within the Hawaiian 72 tribes. Same thing with the 1,200 Maori tribes and the 3,460 tribes of Australia. I hold those positions also. That I was elected into a position and adopted by their tribal councils to be in charge of contracts. And countries all over the world have asked me for help in the suppression that they've suffered from one country taking over their country. Take Ireland, for instance. In July, I did a radio show for the Irish Republic on their by internet radio. It was supposed to be a 20-minute spot, lasted 2 hours and 45 minutes. When I got off the radio, the next day my phone rang, and it was the Irish Parliament called me and said, could you write a constitution for us? And they said, how much time do you need? 3-4 months, they said. I said, how about tomorrow afternoon? He said, you're going to do a constitution for us in 1 day? I says, yeah. I says, I'll deliver it to you tomorrow. It would be 59 paragraphs long. And I did. Overnight, I wrote them a constitution, supplied it to the Irish Parliament. They took 2 days to pore over it, voted on it unanimously, took it to the London Parliament, and London Parliament pored over it for 3 days. And in August, I think it was August 2nd of 2011, Ireland received their independence for the first time in 660 years from England. 2 days after that, Queen Elizabeth was on BBC announcing that all United Kingdom constitutions were null and void because I syntaxed them. She pulled my passport for New Zealand and Australia, so I syntaxed her constitution, disqualified the United Kingdom worldwide. When they pulled my Canadian passport, I syntaxed the Magna Carta. It was sold at Christie's of London for $6.7 million as a historical document with no value. When the United States Congress, Senate, Legislature, and Supreme Court gave me a hard time here a couple of years ago, I syntaxed the Constitution of the United States of America, wrote a new constitution for the United Nations. And now the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence is going to be auctioned this year in Washington, D.C., because it's a historical document and it has no value. Benjamin Franklin was a triple agent, French attorney working for the English crown to capture the United States and give it back to England, which he was successful in doing through adverb verb. When I did a seminar in Atlanta, Georgia, for 72 people, we had the senator from Georgia. He came to the seminar along with several Supreme Court judges from Georgia. I said to him, you know, you guys had a civil war down here. And Grant went ahead and he and Lee got together and you guys signed a surrender treaty here. I said, a syntax that's written in adverb verb doesn't say anything. I says, the southern states are as independent as of a Confederate agency as the North is. I says, you guys were never conquered by war. This is Title 28, Section 1359 is collusion. You had a gun to your head to sign a contract. The contract was written in adverb verb. Both people had a second grade reading level. You don't have a contract. You know what happened the next day? The Confederate flag was raised above the Capitol in Atlanta, Georgia. Made all the newspapers around the world. And all the southern states put up the Confederate flag on top of the Capitol buildings. Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. Everybody's going like, what's going on? It says, you can't surrender to a gun in your face. When the Constitution of the United States ended on November 2nd, 1859, the United States of America did not exist. The South was an independent country. They created the Articles of Confederation. Article was a pronoun, of is an adverb, making confederation a verb. That was a lie. So they don't exist either. It's an illusion. So their illusion versus the United States of America, of is an adverb, making America a verb. Illusion. How does two illusions create a fact? They don't. So therefore, everybody's still independent. And I spell independent, I-N-D, a vowel and two consonants, no contract, because it's an opinion. So you got 8 billion people with an opinion about where you stand and who you are. So when they put up the flags, the United States Supreme Court came back and says, we don't have jurisdiction. And they were right. And they see, all these years, 150 years went by, and nobody knew what they were doing until I stood up and said, hey, the king has new clothes. Yeah. And everybody knows the king has new clothes story. Question?
Just want to go back to the book. I think on your website, I saw something referencing to some DVDs to study along with the book.
All the DVDs from every seminar I've done since 1999 are on the internet. Free. Just type in David Wynn Miller videos. Anything you want. Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Google, AOL, Yahoo. I can't even think of all the rest of them. They're up there. Gmail. And you'll get all the videos you want. There's 200 hours of different videos, seminars. There's the Facebook has got the 17-hour series from Australia. I went down there. That's when they pulled my visa. You see, I'm a federal judge in New South Wales, Australia, Auckland, New Zealand, and also a full barrister with the British United Kingdom. Now, I was awarded that because they couldn't win. They lost 129 cases to me. And I've indicted 129 of their judges. And they don't know what to do with me, so they had to make me a barrister and a federal judge, thinking that that would be okay, you know. Well, the very last trial I was at, in the Land Environmental Court, the judge stood up 4 times and bowed to me. All of the lawyers coming and going in the courtroom during the time of the 1.5-hour presentation I put on in front of 4 TV cameras. I mean, these are the big TV cameras they had in the room there, which were broadcasted all over Australia to all the courthouses so that they could watch. And then I told the judge, I says, you know, Judge, you've been on the bench 28 years, but you're the new kid on the block. you got pulled for this duty, and you've only been sitting on the bench here in Land and Environmental for 3 days. I says, and they set you up to come in front of me because they knew what I was going to do, and none of the other judges that were older than you wanted to get caught in my crosshairs. And I says, I'm the only judge in this court. I says, that seal you got behind you is a good cartoon. I called it a cartoon. The judge turns around and looks at it and says, yeah, it's a cartoon. The first day I was in court with these people, underneath the seal of all the courts, they have a ribbon. And the ribbon has words on it. Between the words, they have dots. Because it's a seal, a dot is used in 2 locations under syntax. On a seal, it's used as a prepositional phrase. On money, it's used as a prepositional phrase because of the restriction of space. So the dot between words, in other words, if I were to have a word here, if I put it here, it's called a period. But if I put it in the middle, that's a prepositional phrase. So if I did this, and I said for the possession, this would be for the width of the with the possession. Each dot would represent a prepositional phrase. And that's syntax, folks. I says, Judge, you're here talking to me in adverb verb. You're here filing paperwork in adverb verb, and yet your seal on the back of the wall says you are advertising syntax, which means you have to be correct. Otherwise, you're guilty of perjury by signed confession. I says, and I handed you a correct parse syntax grammar lawsuit, and I am the only federal judge, and I held up my oath, in Australia. I have the only correct written contract in front of you. I says, so I have the flag, I have the oath, and I have the paperwork, and the paperwork is the court, and I signed a stamp. Where's your signed stamp? I'm postmaster, banker, and judge of this courtroom. Judge stands up and bows to me. And after the 4th bow, he walked out of the courtroom, bowed to me backwards, surrendering the court to me as a chief federal judge of Australia. Then I went up to see the Supreme Court, and they locked me out. So they wouldn't even. And then 2 weeks ago, I was in Honolulu, Hawaii. I walked in the federal building, and the guard goes, "You're Judge David Wynn Miller." I goes, "Yeah." He says, "I got a flyer on you." He says, "You're not allowed in the building." He says, he got on the radio and he called the marshals. He says, you can only be in the building if the marshals are escorting you. So I had 5 more, the guys that run the metal detectors, 5 more sheriffs come walking over. And they're all standing there in front of me with their arms folded. I must really be a dangerous person in your courthouse here. He says, "Well, you're here to arrest our judges." I says, "Yeah, I have warrants for 33 judges in your courthouse, signed by the United States Supreme Court and the World Court at The Hague. I'm the chief judge of Hawaiian Islands, federal judge." I says, "You guys are only district, which is demon god of the underworld for trickery judges." I says, "So you don't have any standing here." I says, "I've got the only standing." I says, "Not only that, you anchored your vessel, which is your courthouse building, on our island." He says, "I'm the elected king of Hawaii, and you've got your vessel anchored on my island. Do you have a drogue law?" That means to anchor. "In the correct parse syntax grammar to anchor your vessel on my island?" "I don't think so." "Do you have a sea pass, SEE, to pass through our borders? Do you have a sea treaty, SEA, to move your vessel amongst the sea of space?" "You don't have any of these treaties?" It means you're trespassing." I says, "And I've got warrants for your arrest." So then 3 marshals come down. "Yeah, what are you doing here?" I says, "Well, I'm here to see the U.S. attorney here in the courthouse." I says, "I'm going to indict Judge Kobayashi over in Maui for treason." "All right, we're going to have to escort you upstairs." So I get off the elevator, there's 5 more marshals, 2 City of Honolulu sheriffs, and 2 City of Honolulu police officers. plus 5 rent-a-cops. So we got 14 people standing in front of me. I must be a really dangerous guy. You're here we're going to have you indicted for harassing our judges. I'm going, well, first off, they're not judges. They don't have an oath of office. Number 2, I have warrants for their arrest. Number 3, all of you gentlemen standing in front of me don't have an oath of office to carry a gun or a badge. I says, I syntaxed it. I says, I have my oath with me. I says, and I was elected as the king in this, so I have diplomatic immunity. I'm a sovereign. I'm the only sovereign in the United States. I have my own country. My own country, and guess what the land of my country is? The land of the courtroom during the time of contract. No one has ever claimed the land of the courtroom during the time of contract. So every courtroom I go into on planet Earth is my country on planet Earth because I was appointed to me through the United Nations, where all 200 countries treated with me, saying, when you come into a courtroom, you are the senior chief judge under land of the contract, and because your contracts are written in quantum grammars, which creates the constitution of the land of the contract. The courtroom. And the courtroom is not a geographical location, it's paper, folks. The land of paper is the contract. Because the contract of paper is not bonded to the room is just a point of convenience. So, what is a courtroom? A courtroom is a piece of paper. And the words on the paper are the thoughts. Hold a thought in your hand, show me the three-dimensional object of the thought. So therefore, the understanding of the courtroom is the correct parse syntax grammar on paper in a geographical location that is neutral called the land of the courthouse or the land of the courtroom. Now, let's say we were in court today. And every person in this room sat here in front of me with a different contract, one for divorce, one for trespassing, one for shoplifting, one for traffic, drunk driving, underage. and as a result of that, does your contract for traffic have anything to do with his divorce or his marriage or his trespassing? The answer is no. So each one of your paper contracts that you have is a vessel in a sea of space. And your name is on that document. Therefore, that is your bill of lading, your passport to be in the closed area called court. And the condition, the contract, the words on that document, if they're written in adverb verbs, say nothing. Therefore, they're called art, A-R-T. Vowel and 2 consonants, no contract. How do you spell ink? I-N-K. I-N means no, K is knowledge. You have no knowledge because you put ink on paper in adverb verb. They've been advertising in plain view all of this throughout your entire life. And just like all the pictures on the wall here, they're all in a box, which is called framing. And framing is a box under 4 corners, which is an enclosed area and can't be considered, so you can't be insulted by any one of the pictures or have any subjective interpretation as to the condition of what the people look like because they're in a box. The lawyers and the attorneys and this whole thing about syntax is in front of you every place you go and everything you do, all the time. The unique thing is that we are here, and I'm talking to you in real time, and we're all on the same plane, P-L-A-N-E. That means you can see me and you can hear me. Now, sheet of paper. I just disappeared. You can't see me anymore. I'm on a stage. Even though it's 0.02 of an inch thick, called a piece of paper, I changed my plane. I just disappeared. Now I'm on a stage. On a stage, you can't see me. You can't hear me. You can't be insulted by me in any way, shape, or form. It's only your subjective interpretation as to what you see and hear now. That's why actors, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 44.1, all judges are actors. And they're on a different plane than you are. Therefore, you can't see them or hear them. That's why they're immune, because they haven't said anything or done anything. Now, who sits in front of the actor on the stage? The clerk of the court with a computer. And what do you see her do? The whole time the judge is up there with his computer screen. He started typing here like this. He's telling the judge what to do because she's on your plane and she's the puppet master and he's the actor being told what to do. So the clerk of the court, who takes the paper? Right. Who takes the clerk of the court takes your money, gives you a receipt. That's called banking. You go to the bank, the teller at the bank takes your money, cancels your check, gives you money,